everybody. My name is Michael Aksenov, and I want to continue my talk show with Fred May and Nina Dmitrieva. If you did not have a chance to see my first interview with them, you can use this link below. We got a lot of positive feedback, which means people were interested. I would like to thank again our principal, Irina Grigorina, for the wonderful idea to make different videos and share them with people during quarantine. Talking person to person brings people closer and develops friendship between people. And what can be better than good friendship? Now I give you Fred and Nina. Hello, Fred and Nina.
Hello,
Hello,
Misha.
hello, Misha. Good to see you.
Nina, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. We're still in Florida. It's very warm here. In Michigan, it's still cold, so I don't know why. I can say we're enjoying here because we're on quarantine, but it's much better here than in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready for your questions.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to hear that. This time, I would like to ask you about your childhood. How did it happen that you became a teacher?
It's a long story. I will try to be short. When I was in the seventh grade, my mother hired a wonderful English teacher for me. Her name was Nina Mitrofana Sakharova. I liked English very much. I think I learned a little bit more than other students in my class because it was an ordinary school. And once my school teacher, her name actually I also remember, Mina Isaina, asked me to help one of my classmates, and his name was Victor Bushuev. And I was a little bit in love with him, and so I was very pleased to help him. So he came to my apartment. We lived in Kommunalka in Novoslobodska Street. So he came once, he came twice, and I helped him to pronounce English words and read English text, etc. So I liked, at that time, I also liked to explain some things to people. I think it was just an maybe the beginning of thinking about teaching in the future. But it was not very serious. Later, when I finished school, I entered the institute. It was called Московский государственный педагогический институт имени Ленина, the English faculty. So and I learned a lot there, and how to teach and what to teach, and history and phonetics and grammar, etc. So that was already a professional learning, I would say, or preparing for the profession. And I started teaching before that, because when my father died, I was undergraduate, and we had financial problems with my mother, and I had to go to work. I taught two classes at school, and that was the beginning of my professional career, I would say. And then, of course, English specialized school, where I taught English as the second language, and then the university for many years. That's it.
Okay. Now, Fred. Fred, tell me a little bit about your early years.
Well, I was born and brought up in a town called Bloomfield, New Jersey, which is a suburb of New York City. It's quite close to New York. Um, my father died at the beginning of World War II, so I was raised by my mother, and we lived in Bloomfield until I went away to the university. It was a middle class community, and My mother went to work as a secretary, so we didn't have a lot of money, but we did own our own home. And most of the kids that I grew up with were in similar kinds of position. So it was a nice life. I had a nice childhood and went to high school and had a
Mm-hmm.
good time, and then I went off to the university.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to become a teacher too?
No, I was not interested in teaching. From a very early age, I started building things and organizing things. I think it was in third grade, I made a little model of a house, and some of the other kids in the class started making little models. And the teacher thought it would be a good idea if we put them together and made a little town. And I was sort of in charge of arranging everything in the town. So I got my first taste of city planning. And then when I was older, I had model trains and I built little layouts with the communities in them. And then when I was in high school, I worked with my uncle who was a carpenter,
Mm-hmm.
and he pointed me in the direction of architecture school. So I started in architecture school, and during my second year in architecture school, we had a problem in city planning. And I found the city planning more interesting than just doing single buildings. So I transferred to city planning and got my undergraduate degree at Rutgers in city planning, and then my master's at Cornell University in city planning.
Yeah, and I would like to add that maybe it is interesting that my father was an architect. And he was also interested in city planning. And the last 6 years of his career, he was a city planner. I don't know if you know what it is, if you're interested. It's just the layout of the cities.
Right.
So Fred can tell you more. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question.
Uh-huh. I understand that. But you could also teach English. You speak beautiful English, and you're a native speaker. Uh, do you think native speakers can teach English?
Well, it all depends. If they've had training in how to teach, yes, they can be very good English teachers. But if you just take a native speaker off the street with no training in how to teach people or the process of education, they don't really know how to teach it very well at all. In fact, most native speakers speak the language on the basis of what sounds right to them. They don't know the rules of grammar the way people who've studied ESL do. So, if you talk to me about something like past perfect, my reaction is, what's so perfect about past perfect? But I couldn't give you a definition of what past
Mm-hmm.
perfect is. I just string together words in the way that sounds right and in the vocabulary that I have in my head. And that's how native speakers do it. But to teach, you really have to know the rules. And for that, you need someone who's got a specialized education in grammar and in how to teach grammar.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Nina, I know that when you're explaining English grammar rules to Russian-speaking students, you are using Russian, but you also teach international students in America. How do you explain grammar to people with very limited uh, English?
That's a very good question. When I taught in Russia, of course, I used Russian because it's easier and quicker. Of course, it depends how you explain. That's also important. And when I came to America and I started teaching English as a second language here, I had international students, and they didn't know Russian. And there were students from different countries like Romania, Bulgaria, all countries from Europe, or I don't know, Turkey and
China, yes.
China. Yes, a lot of Chinese students. So I had to explain English rules for them in English. And I had to create my own approach. I had to do it in a very logical way. I had to create different tables to show them. And of course, I spoke English, showing them when and why we use this or that, because all students all over the world, they want to know why. Why do we say that? Why do we say that? Or can I say that? And I like Fred's answer. I remember when I was doing grades or reading students' papers and made corrections. After that, they asked, "Can I say like this?" And I said, "Fred, what can I answer?" He said, "Of course you can answer them. Yes, you can say like that, but it wouldn't be correct." So anyhow, teaching is a very creative process. So you can't use one and the same method, one and the same approach. I would say method maybe, because method should be logical, it should be understandable, it should be simple, but approaches are different because you have different students, different groups, and different needs. Answering your question, I think I have answered your question. And also, I would like to add that when I came to America, I found a lot of new grammar books, very good books. So I combined even books and grammar which I used in Russia, and there were wonderful authors there, with the contemporary authors. There are so many of them, so it's very important to find what you need and what is good, because sometimes people, even who wrote those books, they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, so I have answered. I hope.
Friend, you and Nina live in a university city. What does a university city mean?
University City is a place where the university is the major activity, economic activity in the community. Most of the people either work for the university or are students at the university or are businesses that support the university. So the university is the dominant force. And it also provides cultural amenities for the city, like concert halls and art museums and other kinds of museums. But it's a town where the university is the dominant influence in town, as opposed to a city like Detroit, where making automobiles is the main thing, or a city like New York, where finance and other business activities are important. In a university city, it's the university.
Yeah, and our city is actually unique, and the university is unique. It's one of the, I think, 10th, right? Best universities in the United States. Sometimes it changes
Yeah,
the
the
positioning
rankings
because
vary.
the rank is different. But it is one of the largest and famous and very prestigious. So when Fred hasn't mentioned that the university is not only 1, 2, 3 buildings. There are more than 350 buildings in the university. So, and there are different campuses, like North Campus or Central Campus or South Campus, and also outside the city there are branches, I would say, of 3 branches. So it's a huge industry, and every year more than 40,000 students come to the city, and then everything is packed. You can find parking, and it's I don't know how it will be in the future, but yeah, so you can tell how it is.
Yeah, I mean, our football stadium, which is our sports arena, is the largest arena in the whole country. And the concert hall has one of the best acoustics of all of the concert halls in the country. So there are some very excellent facilities there. that support the community as well as the university.
Yeah, and you can put how many people
In the
at
football,
yeah, the
100
whole city.
110,000, yeah.
Oh my God. So when when it is a game day, we don't go out because you can't handle anything. The parking lots are packed and
Mhm.
the restaurants are packed. So we're staying home.
Mhm. Okay. Friend and Nina, what would you like to say to our listeners?
Uh, I would like to tell them stay healthy and safe and keep social distance, wash your hands, be safe, and just hope for the better that everything will come to the end soon and everything will be okay.
Yes, let's pray that this will all be over very soon and we can get back to a normal life.
Mhm.
So thank you very much for uh, asking questions, and we
Mhm.
wish you all the best to your family and to your
Yeah,
friends.
thank you. Thank you. And I hope you will um, come to my talk show again.
Okay,
Okay, we
bye
hope so.
bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.